So we have our next question, which says that in your recent podcast with Guy Kawasaki, you talked about the importance of psychology in life. Can you please elaborate that for our viewers, please?
Sure. Again, sticking to the equity market perspective, psychology is important everywhere in life, but if I were to focus in this one sphere per se, I would say stock prices at the end of the day do not go up or down based on how fundamentals are doing, or if you're a technical analyst, sure, the same pattern might have occurred in history at some point, but stock prices actually move based on sentiment. If more people are buying a certain equity and less people are selling, the price of that equity will go up. So to be able to gauge that sentiment and kind of forward call what sentiment might be like becomes very relevant. I think that makes a differentiated trader in today's terms, because the access to information is fairly at par and everybody is getting similar information. Back in the day, that access to information a little bit faster had a huge hand to play in who becomes a better investor and who does not. But in today's terms, I think you have to be careful, watch sentiment very closely. You need to know if a certain group of people are going to continue to buy, or a certain group of people are shaky, they're liquidating. Watching all of that becomes a cardinal part of being a good investor.
That was quite thoughtful, sir. We will have a next question. Pratham, will you like to take the next question?
I can't hear you, but maybe somebody else?
I guess Pratham just lost the connection. So
I will take up the next question. So
yeah,
our next question says that on Women's Day, sir, you posted a graph showing the decline of women workforce in India over the past 30 years. How do you feel that this problem can be solved in India given the unprecedented pandemic?
Well, I think the pandemic doesn't have much to do with it. The trend in lesser number of women in the workforce has been constant over the last decade or two, right? Uh, in all fairness, even globally, the trend is going down, but they're talking about a different pace altogether, where in the West, it might be, 50, 60%. Uh, at 20% and under, we're abysmally, low. A lot has to change. I think culturally, we are still a society, outside of cities and outside of the colleges that you go to and places that you guys visit. If you were to go to a tier 2, tier 3 town or a village in India, it's still a model which is very patriarchal in nature. The man of the household makes the decisions, and the level of independence people in cities enjoy does not exist in tier 2, tier 3 towns and villages. So systematically, something has to be done to, kind of change that. I don't really have a solution here, but I can tell you the trend is worrying. Think of it in these terms. If we have a population of 100 people and China has a population of 100 people, here, if only, if 50 of those 100 are women and 50 are men, if only 10 out of those 50 are working, and in China, 30 of those 50 are working, that makes a 20%, 25% differentiation in terms of how much involvement a citizen of that country has in the workforce. So as a country, we become less competitive. Our workforce becomes a lot smaller, and a lot has to be done to change this. I think at the very core of it, the mentality of people has to change, and this whole archaic notion of the man being the decision maker or the breadwinner in the family has to change. It won't change overnight, but I think organically across the world, we guys are kind of drifting away from religion. Politics kind of pulls us back towards religion for their own purposes. But if you see the amount of money going into, say Christianity, take the Vatican for instance, or take Islam, or take any religion across the world, the amount of money that went to these religious headquarters in a way is gradually dropping over the last decade or two. As this trend kind of exponentially grows, religion will start to have lesser impact on how society is kind of governed, what our moral compasses are, how they change. And I think in a more liberal, cosmopolitan society, there is no reason why we can't have a 50-50 workforce. Why half of it should not be women.
Wow, sir, we should all be taking notes by now. So, our next question is from Mihir, which says, we all know that you're an avid reader. So, can you suggest just 3 books to read for the audience or probably share with us your current reads?
Currently, I'm reading this guy's book, Lionel Barber. He was the ex-chief of FT in the UK, a journalist who has met and interviewed a lot of people, I think, in between 2005 to 2020, and his own learnings from how each of these people, he's met everybody from uh, the leaders of Africa to America to corporate honchos. And he talks about how they are personally and tries to draw trends and patterns in how a leader A governs, and uh, what is very recognizable when you put 3, 4 leaders together and the patterns that emerge. Decent book. If you guys are in commerce and you're all studying commerce, right? Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of you directly or indirectly will invariably find yourself flirting with equity markets. You might be at the back end of it, the front end of it. You might be working for an organization which has something to do with it. To learn how to fundamentally read the balance sheet of a company, how to analyze equity, I think becomes very important to you. So I would in fact recommend not picking a book which is the flavor of the season, because what is in flavor today will not be in 5 years. Something new would have come about. But go back in time, go 30, 40, 50 years ago and pick books which were written at that time. Say something as simple and popular as Benjamin Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor. Uh, Pick, say, Market Wizards, which just will give you will kind of inculcate an interest about equity markets organically and not in the theoretic sense. Yeah, so those kind of books. I kind of like books which are old, because I feel like what is relevant and cool now keeps changing. And if something has survived the test of time after 50 years, if that book still has something to teach you, I think that's a good benchmark to figure out which is a good book and which isn't.
Right, sir. I hope, Mihir, you got your answer. So, sir, we have our next question, which says that we read an article in which it was stated that you used to earn 8,000 in the starting, but now we all know that you're a billionaire. So, what was that key point that motivated you, and how did you take such repulsive and such decisions in your life?
See, at the core of it, we're all the same, right? Like Manisha wants more money when she starts working than Apurva, and Apurva wants more than Ashish, and Ashish wants more than Pratham. As human beings, we have kind of like we've evolved, and it's very ingrained in our DNA that we want more than our peer group. We want to make more money. We want to have more goods than people who are, relatively in our ecosystem. Back in the day when there were hunters and gatherers, it was about who is the strongest and who can hunt the best. He was the one who was most coveted in society. So that continues to, what that parameter is. Is it physical strength? Is it money? Is it in a communist world, I would say, is it proximity to power? Is it a higher ranking military general? In a socialist world, I would say it's somebody who's more socially conscious. That parameter keeps changing, but we innately will always want more than our peer group, and we will want to feel more important than the others in the peer group.
Right.
What worked for me is I happened to be in fintech at the right time, in the right place, when the industry kind of like was growing rapidly. And I kind of got lucky many times in that cycle by having started at that point. But I don't think it should be about that, money, number, title, benchmark. I think it should be more about how you stay relevant, how you stay competitive, focus not only on, getting great marks or reading what is in your curriculum. Go out there, start a business. Today, uh, it has become so much easier relative to 20 years ago for you guys, even while you're in college, to get together. Two, three of you guys can get together and start something. Even with access to minimal capital, there are many things that can be started and that can kind of like grow organically. So think outside the box. Don't stick to your syllabus. Don't worry too much about what marks you get in college, because 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, you will look back in time and you will be like, I was wasting my time fretting over something which is so irrelevant to you at that point. But get more worldly. Don't focus on your micro bucket where your peers are your comparison and your competition, but realize that when you go out, you start a business, you start working, you will be competing with everybody, not just your classroom or your college.
Right, sir. We completely agree with you on that. So our next question is from Ritu, which says that what qualities do you think chess developed in you which were helpful for you in your journey?
I get asked this question a lot. So, chess is a game which is more about memory, it's more about discipline than anything else. Chess has a bunch of rules that you have to follow, and how well you follow these rules and how well you are able to, in a manner, regurgitate every game which has been played historically is what makes you a better chess player. You need to read about, theory, middle game theory, openings, end game theory, remember games which have been played in the past, and be able to implement your learnings from that while you're playing a tournament or whatever. It has very little to do with intelligence or how innately smart somebody is. Chess, maybe, if there is one learning, is the fact that, like in chess, in life, in business, you'll pass this point after college. Right now, people tell you in a certain manner that you need to do ABC. It could be your parents, it could be your teachers, it could be your support system, but you will quickly evolve beyond that, where you have to set these rules for yourself. And in many cases, that understanding that discipline towards your job, your vocation, your education is important. uh, in some cases it comes early, in some cases it comes late. Chess kind of teaches you that a little bit early. I'm not suggesting you guys live like a monk and have that much structure in your life, but what I mean to say is, in those 8 hours a day that you're working, or in those 10 hours a day that you're spending on work, you need to have some kind of a structure in place. And the other 14 hours, you could be like a raving lunatic and do whatever the hell you want, but I think it's important to have structure in that time frame.
So that was quite an important lesson for our viewers. We have a bunch of questions in the chat box, but due to time constraint, we'll be taking just one last question, and that is from Shakti, which says, if you look at your journey and given a chance to change a few things, what will it be?
So nobody is ever truly happy. That idea of contentment is not really true. Today you might have an aspiration that if you get A, B, C, D in life, you will be happy, you will be content. That never happens. So I'm extremely grateful to how lucky I have gotten in life. But does that mean I sit today on a pedestal where I'm satisfied and content? No. And if I were to look at the people I look up to in life, do they sit on that pedestal? No, they don't. I think the one constant in your life will always be, being dissatisfied, critiquing what you've done in the past, critiquing different events in your life, circumstances that one could not control. So that's, like a natural to and fro, which will keep happening, immaterial of what happens in your life, professionally, personally, in any sphere. So there are many, many things if I go back to in my life, in my past, I would like to do again, some personally, some professionally, with the understanding that, we have gotten lucky for having started and done the things we did at the time that we did.
Yes, sir, we completely agree with you on that. And like the way you answer the questions, we all must agree on that what a down to earth and what a modest personality you possess. So we are very inspired by that. But now we would like to come, now due to time constraints, we have come to the end of the session, and we would like to express our gratitude to our teacher in charge, Dr. Alok Kumar, and the Associate Professor of the Commerce Department, Dr. C.S. Sharma, for joining us today. Thank you, sir. We will be honored if you could enlighten us with some words.
Manishka sir actually had to leave because of certain issues, so he won't be able to address the audience.
Okay, no issues. So yeah, sir, we would have loved to interact with you more, but due to your packed schedule, we will have to end the session here. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing some time from your busy schedule for all of us. We at SRCC are looking forward to have many more great sessions with you in times to come.
Thank you, everyone. It was lovely speaking with you guys. Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.